Got it. That boy, keep working that phone every time. I did it. Not your side, but he's getting one. You got your one. That's all that matters. All right.
Fish landing violation.
Now you can hold one.
Heck yeah!
Take your call. All right.
There we go.
Nice. All right.
Hey!
Nice.
Chasing man, you show us how to perform. Well, your style's been changed because we're so vain, but you'll take a sunset for stone. Look out her name, you're bad, bad, bad. Here you come, said you're bad, bad, bad. Sing for a time, you're the hottest ticket in town. Well, you show us new moves, cause baby, you're smooth, you're above us.
Well, get those life vests zipped and clipped, strap down those rods, and stow away those tackle bags because we are going fishing. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bass Pro Anglers Podcast. I hope this episode finds you with 5 for 25 in your live well. I'm your host, Keith Nicewanger. In this episode, Chris Lane takes us fishing and then sits down and gives us a clinic on the rods that he has designed for ducket fishing. But first, if you like the content we produce in this channel, please hit the subscribe button. We are building our viewership, and your follow means an awful lot to us. We'd also love to hear from you, so please leave a comment if you're so inclined. We are the Western representatives for ducket fishing, pro-driven rods, reels, and baits. Ducket is building a Western presence, and if you haven't seen it yet, you soon will. New independent dealerships are popping up all the time. Of course, you know that Ducket has the strongest pro staff in all of professional fishing. Find out about the Ducket lineup of pro-driven products by going to their website, ducketfishing.com. Chris Lane is a walking, talking public relations firm for the city of Guntersville, Alabama. To say that he loves his adopted home is an understatement. In fact, I labeled him the mayor of Guntersville because during our time together, I was made to appreciate the beauty, the outdoor resources, and the hospitality that the Guntersville community has to offer. Chris is also a wizard about his fishing, and I was able to get his thoughts on how and why he selects the equipment he uses for his time out on the water. That cave is gray bat sanctuary, yeah, full of bats.
They had a number of them.
Literally,
They'll stay here until they just never stop coming out.
that literally is a bat cave.
Hundreds of bats in a second come out of there.
Wow. Now, Chris, everybody that I've fished with so far this week has taken us out on ledges, and we've not done much. You've taken us all the way to Guntersville Dam. What What's the reasoning for that?
Well, because I can get out of the sun over here.
There you go. That's
And, you know, I know the fish haven't been biting real good, so, you know, there's always fish in here. May not be any big ones, but at least we'll get the tug on a line, and a lot of the times that's what it's about.
you get a lot of. You have a more moving water up here. Is that?
Yeah, you always have a little bit of flow here.
All right. All right. I learned a very valuable lesson about GoPros in this particular trip with Chris. And that lesson is that you got to turn your GoPro on when you go fishing, as opposed to having it on when you're just sitting down talking. We caught a lot of fish, about 20 or so, on the BD60P popper. It's a fun little topwater popper bait. Like I said, caught a lot of them. They weren't big. I think our 20 fish might have weighed about 7 pounds. But it was still a lot of fun. I really apologize to Chris for not having my GoPro situation set up properly. Great shot of the knees and the feet, but the fishing action was lost. We are at the Guntersville Writers Conference, and we have with us today Chris Lane, and we're talking rods, fishing rods. Chris Lane has designed a couple of rods for Duckett's Pro Series. First of all, Chris, Guntersville, what's going on out there today?
Man, it's beautiful. It
is beautiful.
Not a cloud in the sky.
There is not a cloud in the sky.
Perfect summer day.
No wind.
No wind. No clouds. No current.
No current to pull you off your spot.
Yeah, no bites. So that's Guntersville at its finest. You know, this time of year, it's beautiful out there, and it's a great time to go out, enjoy the lake. Got to spend some fantastic time with Mr. Gary from Rascal Flats, and you know, you get those moments with people like that have had just monumental success. And when you're out there and you're fishing and enjoying the water, the one thing about it is you cannot skip over the fact of the conversations that are struck up when you're on the water. It's really cool.
Yep.
It's really neat, and to hear some of their stories, pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes in the act of trying to chase these fish down, we get away from what fishing really is, and it's fellowship. It's all that. Anyway, we're talking fishing rods today, and you've designed a couple rods for the Duckett Pro Series. I think it's interesting that both of these rods are 7 foot 4 inches long. Is that a comfortable size for you, or is it technique wise?
Well, I think the biggest thing is the way that I fish, the way that fishing has become with frogs, with chatterbaits, with big spinnerbaits, with, you know, stickos, with all the soft plastic, with jigs. You know, I wanted a rod that was versatile. You have a 7.2, you have a 7.1, you have a 7 foot. Of course, a topwater rod, you know, if you're throwing a little popper, you want a smaller rod, but with a walking bait or a plopper or anything like that, you want a rod that has plenty of backbone and that you can make a cast. And I wanted a rod that I didn't have to worry about 7.1, 7.3, 7.2, medium heavy, medium, all this. And this 7.4 medium heavy that we came out with, I knew what I wanted, but when I got it, I didn't realize that it was actually that good. It's not exactly what I wanted. It was 10 times better. And I said, this is perfect. So that's the 7.4 heavy. I pretty much throw everything on it. That's what I was looking for. Something that you can have all the separate baits that you need to throw, but have the one rod that gives you everything that you need for all of those baits. And that's what it did. And then the 7.4 cranking, you know, rattle traps, or if you're in real clear water, crankbait, something like that, you need something that gives a little bit. 7.4 is just a really, it's not 7.6, you know, which can be too long sometimes. It's not a 7 foot, so it doesn't give you enough power on a, say, a 6 or 7, 8 foot crankbait, or even a 12 to 15 foot crankbait. So that's just one of those rods when you're not fishing a grass lake that really gives you the power to set the hook, but it's not so heavy to where the fish can't, you know, pull it back like they do with crankbaits and rattle traps.
Let's talk about that 7.4 heavy that you were talking about. You said that you use it for a lot of different applications. So if we were fishing a tournament, let's say we're fishing at Guntersville today.
We've been there.
but so how many of those 7.4 heavies would you have on your deck, and what would you have on them?
I mean, it's been like that all year for me. We actually got these rods, I think, in the middle or late last year, and I was so excited for them to finally get into stock, you know, with the supply-demand chain and everything that's been going on in the world. To have 6 to 8 of those on my deck, and all have different, you know, one will have a sticko on it, one will have a worm, one will have a pitching stick to pitch to reeds or to pitch to the grass mats, the other one will have a plopper on it, the other one will have a BD sounder on it, a walking bait, braid, mono, fluoro. I'll have all the lines, and that's the one rod that I truly feel that I can go to if I get a bite. It's not the rod's reason I don't catch the fish.
First of all, I want to get up here and I want to take a look, and I want to say for a fact he does have 7.4 heavy, 7.4 heavy, 7.4 heavy. There's 4 7.4 heavies there.
Couple over here.
Couple more. 1, 2. There you go. 7 of them on the deck right now, and a drop shot rod. I think that's pretty interesting because, you know, how often does a guy have enough money to go out and buy a new rod? He may have enough money to buy a rod, and if he's thinking, you know, what is a rod that I could do a little bit of everything on it? That sounds like that BD. I'm sorry. It sounds like that 7.4 is a rod like that. You fish a worm on that?
Oh, absolutely. It's
and a frog.
Oh, a frog. You know, a topwater bait, pitching. You know, put 50-pound braid on it and flip a half-ounce weight to toolies. I mean, I've done it all with it, and it's the rod that actually gives me everything for every situation. Now, if you go to a 1-ounce flipping weight and a mat, will it rip them out? Will it give you a good hook set? Absolutely. But do I want a 7.6 or an 8 foot? If I'm going to be doing it all day, yes. But if you're in a situation like you said, you know, you only get 3. You only want 3 or 4 rods, and that's all you want. That rod will let you throw anything you want on it.
That's good as far as versatility. That's a pretty good thing. And again, I think for a consumer, for someone that is wanting to get a good rod, because these Pro Series rods are really, really good rods. That 7.4, what is that 7.4 just a comfortable length for you? I mean, you know, it's interesting because there's a lot of 7-foot rods and there's some longer ones, but 7.4 is kind of a tweener rod in terms of right in that middle between a long one and a moderate one.
Well, it goes back to the versatility, like we were talking about. It's a rod that you can afford. It's a rod that does not break, and it's a rod that allows you to fish all the baits that you want to fish and not have to have 17 different rods. Yeah. That's the good thing, because then when you have a bunch of rods and you want to switch it up, a lot of the times you got to buy reels to go on those rods, or you're taking that reel off, putting it on your other rod because you think that that's a spinnerbait rod or that's a worm rod. This rod you can put anything on it that you want as far as the versatility, and it'll give you what you want.
And now I actually own the 7.4 medium cranking rod that you make. I like it for throwing jerk baits. I feel like that medium tip is got a good snap to it, and I like it for throwing like popper type top water baits on it as well. It's pretty versatile also.
The 7.4 medium heavy, it's a rod that is exactly what you said. It fits for you, you know.
Yeah.
And going back to that 7.4 heavy, the one thing that I forgot to mention was you got one rod or two rods or three rods. So when you have that one rod that you like, that fits you, like the 7.4 fits you, you know, I aim towards the weekend guys, the grassroots guys, the guys or girls or whoever that wants to just go out there, buy one or two fishing rods and go out there and go fishing. And that's why the 7.4 heavy was a perfect design, I thought, because if I was 15 or 10 or 16 years old or 20 years old, I wanted to go get a couple of rods. I know how I like to fish. That rod's going to do it for me.
It's going to cover a lot of ground.
And the 7.4 medium heavy, it's exactly what you just said. It's your jerk bait, your rattle trap. If you like to throw a small popper on it, something like that, it's just great for that too.
Using many of the ducket baits these days.
I do. I use a lot of them.
What baits specifically are you using?
Well, the BD Sounder is a really good one, you know, especially on Guntersville where you have a lot of grass. And
that's the topwater walking bait.
That's that topwater walking bait. And you can really cover a lot of ground with it, and it'll call some fish up from the bottom.
It casts a long distance as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's good stuff, Chris. I appreciate you spending some time with us today and giving us some insight on how you came up with these rod designs. And best of luck to you. It's been a lot of fun watching you on the tour this year, and look forward to seeing the rest of the time. Thanks for being with us.
Appreciate you having us.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I really like getting the pros I talk to talk about their equipment. I love the details that go into the professional angler's mindset when it comes to rod selection. Kind of a geek about those kinds of things. And Chris provided some amazing insight into how he designs and chooses the gear he uses. We really did catch a lot of fish around the Guntersville Dam outtake. Not a lot of bigs, but a lot of fun-sized largemouth that were chasing bait in that current, which might have been the only current available on the lake that particular day. And I learned that you got to turn the GoPro on, not off. Oh well. Chalk it up to another fish story. That's going to do it for this episode of the Bastard Anglers Podcast. Thanks for being with us. Until next time, keep both hands on the wheel. Be safe out there. We'll talk to you soon.